Hi, aloha. This is a new playlist for my YouTube site, and it's called Just Now, and this is day one of Just Now. So I wanted to say that none of us can promise to be brave or conscious all the time. That would be such a setup for failure. But with so many difficult, confusing things happening, I'm spending more and more of my time each day examining my belief systems, examining my limitations, my justifications maybe for falling out of my power or my joy. So suddenly I realized, I woke up this morning, I thought, wow, this is a great opportunity to explore my beliefs. So I went to my husband and I said, would you be willing to do this with me? At the end of the day, could we report to one another all the times we chose to remain small or broken or upset? And he was really excited about it. And so then I realized maybe some of you might also be willing to do this. And so I'm creating this new playlist called Just Now, because life is so intense now. Some might be willing to practice observing your own reactions with me. I would be so honored for you to do that. Hoping that you will meet with me each day if you want to, and share what you're learning about yourself. Are you really living your spiritual truths? Or are you merging with the collective worst case scenarios? So I would ask you to share with me by adding comments if you want to, or you could send your ahas to my email, which is donnabradley333@gmail.com, and I'll gather and report the things we're all learning together to all of you. So I'm definitely not saying to ignore your fear or your grief, because that's all part of our divine humanity. But I do believe, I know at the very core of me, even if I can't always stay there, that everything that happens is a gift. That there is nothing that is not love. There's nothing that is not for the growth of our souls. So I thought I'd give you a couple of personal examples that I'm using to help me become more aware. So I've been helping my friend Ellie in her passing, and I was with her for a long time, every day. And after I finished her memorial, I would say within 3 hours, because that was my last responsibility with her, my lifelong illness came swooping back. There was paralysis of everything, basically. Paralysis of being able to chew and swallow. Paralysis of my heart muscles, so my heart wasn't beating steadily. Paralysis of my lungs, so I was running out of oxygen to talk to anybody. And even paralysis of my digestive system and my bowels. And out of concern, because these people love me so much, they would say, oh, Spirit, you work too much. You work too hard. You don't take care of yourself. And I was really tempted to believe them. But when I go deep, I realize that I'm at a different vibration than many people, a different set of rules. And I know that when my soul bothers to knock me to the ground, it must be a blessing. So I've been exploring why my soul would bother to do this. And in terms of Ellie, here are a few of the answers that I've gotten in just a few days of being so sick. One was that every day, Ellie and she had asked me to escort her across the line, and every day we went back and forth from being totally in a body to crossing that sweet line. And each time we would go into such bliss, such freedom. It was amazing. And somehow she taught me that there's no difference between life and death, because there were times for those 33 days when I couldn't tell if she was still in her body. But there were times when I crossed the line with her when I wasn't sure I hadn't died, although I'd made a very clear statement that I wasn't going to. But very often Ellie would look at me and she'd say, "Spirit, am I dead yet?" And I'd say, "No, I don't think so." And she said, "Well, I must be, because I feel such joy and such peace." And then there were times after she passed. Oh my God, I've never seen anything like this, where not just me, but many of us would catch her out of the side of our eyes, moving. And she was there on the bed, stretched out in her beautiful favorite dancing dress. And as I sat there beside her, I would see the cloth of her dress go up and down as she was breathing. And I thought, oh, I'm not going to say anything to anybody because nobody would believe this. But then other people came in and they said, "Oh, do you see her breathing?" And she was so present, that many people saw her regularly for the next few days. So I learned that when we're dead, we're still alive, and vice versa. And then another thing I learned is that I was tempted to believe that my body must be really okay because I was in constant bliss. It felt so real, and so I thought my body was just fine. But instead, my body was doing a bit of a stretch, going back and forth, back and forth. But I learned that my soul wanted this information. It wanted what Ellie and her beloved sister Uta could tell me. It wanted to know what they felt on both sides of the line. And I am so grateful for this information that I learned. But you know, being sick afterwards, after her memorial, gave me time to explore this because I literally couldn't walk across the room. I couldn't breathe. My heart was all messed up. And so I was just there with no choice. At least it felt like it. No choice to get up and move around and be functional. And I guess the third thing it taught me, and I'm sure there's more, this is just all I've gotten in a few days, but it helped me consciously choose life. And I realized that it's not because I'm afraid of death, but because I so love life. So there was the blessing. But I had to be there just now. I had to be totally present for the information, the answers that were being given to me. So here's another example. My landlord so generously took $700 off of our rent during the pandemic. And we were so grateful, but she said that July 1st, we'd have to start paying again. And I was just in awe that she would be this loving. And then yesterday we found out that not only were we going to be paying another $700 in rent, but that a new set of medical bills had arisen, ongoing medical bills that would be $700. And so suddenly, every single month now, we owe an extra $1,400. So you can imagine how tempting it was to call up our lovely landlord, because almost no one is paying full rent now. But then I realized what an adventure it is to spend our days focused on allowing abundance and health and peace and joy. Because I know in theory that no one is a victim. No one is the source. You may think you're getting your money from your job or this person, but really God, love, is the source, giving it through those situations. So I thought, I don't want to tell my landlady that I can't pay this rent. I thought it would be much more exciting and fun even, I hope I can let it be, to practice this truth, that the source is always here. So do you get it? All this time, we've been thinking we had to be perfect, but no. We don't have to be so-called enlightened or wise or joyous, because we're still here in bodies. We're still learning. But you know, maybe just even once a day, you could go into just now and be present just now in this moment, so that you can actually explore your negativity and your fear and your limitations. And then I'm wondering if some of you would bring me your learning to share with one another, so that we can support one another in becoming more conscious. No guilt when you realize you've been being limited. No shame when you realize that you've been choosing the reality of the collective. No, I should have done it differently. But instead, I'm asking you to bring me this information, because it is so amazing to use this time of undoing of everything we've known in the world to become more of our divinely human selves. So please, please join me. I would love an ongoing conversation of how we're letting go of anything that keeps us small or broken, and how we're teaching one another to be our whole divine human self. Thank you. Namaste.